Everybody to stand. And I'm going to ask Miss Fanny Easterly to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Okay. At this time, if everybody would punch their computer, show them your presence. I don't have anything on mine. Do mine.
Did you?
No, I ain't touched it. Touch me, there you go.
There you go, okay.
Okay. We have a quorum. This time, I believe you all received a copy of the minutes of our meeting of May the 7th. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Valet, second by
A second.
Sid.
That's
Okay.
Here's the stuff. Here's the stuff. I'm sorry, Mr. John.
I apologize, my computer's dead. But, okay. Correspondence.
We have none at this time.
Did y'all all
Wait,
vote
can y'all vote for the,
for the minutes?
you?
Yeah, that,
I thought I did.
I'm gonna work off
I
of.
submitted.
yeah, you just gonna
Lynn's
work off of
computer.
mine? I don't know why yours is stuck, Mr. John.
Okay, they're
I think
approved.
we're good.
Correspondence.
We have none.
We have none. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna open up the public hearing for file number 2019-05. Special use permit to request to allow the assisted living facilities on lot 2A, 1B, lot 2D, 1, 2C1, and 2A-1-A. 4 lots combined together totaling 6.01 acres for West Town for Hampton Obier. Okay, now, let me say,
I know, I'm trying to get y'all out.
before we start, everything is on the camera, and any comments you make must be at this podium, up here, speaking into the mic. Comments out of the audience won't be recorded, and we want to have everything on public record. So if you come up here to speak, please state your name and sign the tablet. Is there a tablet up there? Yes, sir. And didn't give us your comments, but if you would, let's not have any personal conversation within the audience, people. Okay. Is anybody here to represent that?
Yes, sir. My name is Hampton Obier. Good evening. We are looking at building an assisted living facility on that parcel of land, that 6 acres of land. I've got 2 handouts that I'd like to pass out to you. It'll show you a front elevation and a site plan. Can I come up there and pass them out, or do I?
No, you can pass it on. Is it something different than what you already gave me?
This is just to add some more color to what I
Okay.
did.
No, I got something on my computer.
I don't. Let's see if I can get this thing to release them.
I'll take the leftovers.
I got an extra one here if anybody needs one. Everybody got one? Okay.
All right, so the group I'm associated with is called Rustic Development, and they have a assisted living facility, community rather, in Denham Springs. It's a 54-unit assisted living community, and they've been operating it for a number of years there. What we're intending to do here is for private pay. It's going to be a one-story assisted living facility. We call them communities. As you can see, the layout has neighborhoods within these facilities, so it really accommodates these older folks into assimilating together in social environments within the facilities. The location's going to be towards the back. On the front-hand side of the property, the first 2 acres, we're looking at putting a medical clinic of some sort on the front. Ochsner has expressed interest as well as others. We have not yet signed any contracts or identified the optimum user for that, but ideally we'd like to put this assisted living facility on the back 4 acres and a clinic of some sort on the front 2 acres of this property. So we're looking at building 72 units with 24 in memory care. So the memory care units are more memory intensive, where the residents rather are not roaming around quite as much. They're limited more. There's going to be some nice courtyards, as you can see on the picture. One thing I'll point out is there's going to be a very large natural vegetation hedge along the southern border of this property. When I walked the subdivision a couple of weeks ago, noticed that there's just no buffer between the backyards of these residences and this property. Right now, they're looking onto an old metal building that's being used for storage. What we would improve would be a nice natural hedge that would provide a deep buffer, about 10 or 15 feet of natural hedge buffer that would be high. And then what they'd see beyond that would look like a very large house. It's all one story. There's only one elevated section where it's sort of the entrance that's elevated a little bit more. So it's really going to look and feel like a neighborhood when you look across the field into this property. The driveway, as you can see, runs along that southern border, but we moved it to accommodate a nice vegetation. After I walked that neighborhood, I noticed that it really needed a grander buffer than what was prescribed. What was prescribed to us via this roadway was only 5 feet. We extended another 15 feet to provide an additional buffer for the neighborhood there. I think that's pretty much it. That's a pretty good summary of what we're doing. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Look like, it certainly appears that you've done a lot of the preliminary work here with all the drawings and sketches that you have here, so it looks mighty nice. And all this will be done at the beginning of the, so you're not gonna be doing it in stages or anything, huh?
No, sir. The back assisted living community development is roughly 50,000 square feet, and we are building that all in one. The site development will all be done in one vertical construction development.
Okay.
I think it'll be much later that we address that medical commercial front apron, that 2 acres on the front.
Well, are you planning on putting fire hydrants and stuff inside the facility?
Fire hydrants inside the facility?
Yeah, or are you just gonna leave them out on LA1?
That's a good question. I don't have that answer for you. I'll get that for you.
Okay. I know all the utilities on LA1. Okay, I have any other question? Anybody up here have any questions or comments?
Roughly how many square
I
feet
guess that's your area down there.
It's going to be a little over 50,000 square feet.
per resident, like,
Per resident, I think it's around
Curtis'
700
area,
per
okay.
unit. Is that about right? 700 per unit? About 700 square
it's like
feet
a
per
small
unit.
apartment?
It's like a small apartment, yeah. They're going to have their little kitchenette in there. As you can see, the way we've arranged it, there's going to be little neighborhood hubs within the facility.
Okay. No other comments up here? Well, thank you. At this time, does anybody in the audience like to make a comment? Oh, okay, hold on. Just come up to the mic, sign your name and state your name for the record, please, ma'am, and speak into the mic.
I'm just wondering, my name is Reba Donna Creature. I was wondering if it's listed as Bruley or Addis.
It's gonna be, right
actually,
past Walmart,
So
Actually,
it'd be listed as Bruley.
before you get to Bowyer Lane.
Probably
yeah, it's a
Port
Port
Allen.
Allen address, right past
Okay.
Walmart.
Okay, okay. That's all I'm wanting.
But I don't think it's part of the property that was annexed into Port Allen.
No.
This is still it's still a parish property.
Yeah, okay.
That's all.
Where is it? Say again, you
Between DC's and the Chinese Grill, where they
DC,
got that.
DC's Grill,
do? Right.
a little strip mall.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments from the audience? Any other comments? Any other questions from the panel? Being none, I'll move that the, entertain a motion to move on to the next item.
Can we,
Okay,
Let's
we'll
close
close out the public hearing at this time,
And we're gonna go manual?
and going manual.
We're going manual?
meaning you're
Okay.
gonna do each one at a time?
So, you wanna call the roll? Is that what you said, manual? Are you-
We're gonna go manual like we used to do?
Yes.
And you close the public hearing, and now we'll just get a motion?
Oh,
Just
right,
make it
I'll look for a
verbal.
motion and a second.
There you go. Like old school, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman. He
Okay,
closed
He
it.
closed it.
you made the
Close.
motion?
I'll make a motion of.
Okay, so who made the
To
second?
approve?
I'll second that.
Okay.
The motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Unanimous?
Yeah.
Now, when you said manual, I thought you were gonna have a roll call vote. Okay. This time, thank you. This time I'll go to item number 2019-06, request for rezoning from ag to I-1, light industrial, Lobble Highway and Court Street, Port Allen. Tract containing 118 acres. This is for LA3 Holdings LLC. Is anybody here to represent that?
Hello, my name's Chad Orty, here representing LA3 Holdings. And we are requesting a rezoning of the property from agriculture to I-1 light industrial. The intent is for warehouse distribution. We are working towards representing a client with needs for warehouse distribution space. And we feel this property is ideally suited for it, being the access and close proximity to the interstate. And we need the zoning to match what they're doing. The plan is to have the buildings built with the rear facing towards back part of the property, which would be the northern boundary line. And that would be where the project would start. And the plan is just, a warehouse distribution and no outside storage or anything of any kind of manufacturing, just a warehouse distribution facility is the intent.
Well, 118 acres is mighty large for warehouse distribution. You can tend to cover the whole 118 acres with a warehouse.
No, sir. I mean, the initial demand is 300,000 square feet, but, we anticipate potentially having more. And then the site, we've got to work through some site conditions and stuff to get it to fit. So the buildings won't take up the entire site, no, sir. For what we have right now.
You're gonna access it from Court Street and 415?
The property has access points on 415 as well as Court Street. We certainly have to evaluate and work through a couple of issues to be able to say which one is definite, but there's a number of issues that we have to work through for me to be able to answer and tell you exactly, but we hope to be able to have access, in and out on 415 and as well as Court Street, so.
Chad, so warehouse distribution,
Yes, sir.
2 words. Can you give me any details other than 2 words?
Well, it's, you know, exactly like what the product or what they're, no, sir, I'm not sure exactly the
So
product.
you don't have any idea at this time?
No, sir. I mean, the buildings, you know, are built to store dry, you know, to store goods and transfer and to load and unload. You know, what the product is or, you know, I'm not certain this time.
So is there a possibility of any of this becoming hazardous? Since you're not familiar with what may be stored?
As far as hazardous and which, I mean, I don't believe this is a manufacturing site. Most hazardous and manufacturing stuff that we see or witness in this area is done closer to plants and the river and the railroad tracks, and they need to be closer to the plants. This site is just not suited for any kind of manufacturing, and that's not what's going to be going on there. Will the products be potentially hazardous? It could be a hazardous product, but it's not that it's going to be produced or manufactured or anything on the site.
So right now, you're saying you don't know, you don't have an idea?
No, I don't, no, ma'am.
John, can I have the floor a minute?
Can what?
Can I have the floor a minute?
Sure.
So if you're not gonna be doing any manufacturing, and you want I-1, why can't we look at C 1.4? And Kevin, I'd like to read what C 1.4 is. Obviously, you know, but it says the purpose of C 1.4, it's actually an industrial transitional commercial district. And the purpose of this is an industrial transition commercial district to provide development or redevelopment of areas of transitional commercial industrial use that form a transition between heavy commercial usage and light industrial usage. So as I look at the appendix here, it appears to me, just from my research, that actually this would fit what you want. Kevin, can you comment on that?
Yes, sir. And let me just comment real quickly on Ms. Alfreda's question and his response on the storage. There are certain hazardous conditions that are not allowed in I-1. I don't have that in front of me because we changed a lot of that a couple of years ago, especially with which classifications of hazardous we were specifically talking about. And I think we ended up limiting that to like Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 or something to that effect. But just to answer your question, Ms. Alfreda, there are some hazardous conditions that will not be allowed in I-1, just so that the applicant knows for future purposes. Now, Carrie, to your question on the warehouse storage and distribution light, that is permitted in C 1.4. If that's what they're going for, warehouse storage and distribution light,
Right.
that would be no outside storage. You know,
Correct.
Kind of like in I-1 also, that is
Right.
permitted in C 1.4, yes.
And I guess what I was kind of looking at when I looked at this, Ms. Lynn, can you put up the, sure you got the map that shows the zoning in that area?
Oh, yes, I can turn that on.
So I can, I guess, again, make my point. So,
I'm gonna, you see the big
yes,
odd colored piece? I'm gonna clear it
okay,
so that y'all will be able to see.
perfect.
Can you see it?
Yep. So as I see this, and you can see the property is not, it's ag right now, but everything in that area around it is commercial already.
Yeah.
And actually, there is no industrial in that area except if you went down a little further, Ms. Lynn, if you can do that, there's industrial south of the interstate. So I'm certain, I'm not, Chad, I'm certainly not saying I'm opposed. There it is there. You can see the purple. In my view, I'm not saying I'm opposed to what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think the C 1.4 would fit. And
Yes, sir.
correct me if I'm wrong too, Kevin, we don't have to put it in the paper and advertise, correct, if we go down in zoning?
Yeah, that, my understanding in the past, kind of chatting with the power attorney, anything official from him, if you give him something less than what he's asking for after holding this hearing,
Right.
listening to all the testimony, that would be acceptable.
Okay.
If you try to give him something heavier than what he's asking for,
Sure.
obviously that would not be
Right,
acceptable. You could go less than what he's asking for.
So,
Sure, appreciate it. I guess, I'm not exactly sure, we did review all this, and there was a reason why we weren't doing the previous one, the lower one, but I guess I would ask, what's the opposition to the I-1?
Well, it
Like,
puts you.
What's in there that's
it-
bothering you? Yeah.
Well, it puts you in a whole different column with I-2, and there's a lot of other things you can do with I-1, which you don't really need. So in my view, you're actually overzoning.
Gotcha.
And in my view, again, I don't think you really need to overzone. We need to put what fits you.
Sure,
And-
fair
and it
enough.
seems
I
like this
understand.
fits.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd have to sit down and read over the lesser zoning, but I think we can look at it and, I mean, the higher industrial uses that you would be concerned about or that are typically gonna be on the industrial canal, on a railroad track.
Right.
Next to a plant.
Exactly.
With those needs, but, the property is, doesn't really have any frontage on a street, so it's not really suited for, too much it's really ideally for industrial, warehouse distribution, and I know that y'all have quite a few of those at the parish, and I don't think have been any problems with them, there. And I think we have another rezoning on the docket for the same thing, so,
Okay.
I guess I would like to, I'm not certain what the lesser zoning, there was a reason why we
You're-
didn't do that, and we
He's
went
still
with this one.
permitted to do the distribution on the C 1.4, and it stays in commercial, all right in that area. That's the point I'm trying to bring up.
Yes,
And
sir.
I think, in my opinion, it's the correct thing to do at this time. So, I'm finished, Mr. Jones.
Well, Mr. Durbin in his critique said it may become incompatible with the existing character or usage of the neighborhood.
Correct. I saw that.
What did you mean by that?
So, compatibility is a pretty subjective term. In some of these cases, I rely on your collective expertise to determine for sure whether or not it would or would not be compatible. As Mr. Dinstel stated, there is no light industrial in this particular area. You'd have to go a little bit further south to find that. And I think, again, getting back to the storage, the hazardous storage, I just looked at light industrial carry is that in light industrial, they would actually be permitted to have 50% storage with the hazardous materials, whereas in warehouse, there may be some hazardous restrictions in the warehouse district itself.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, how will this compare with the property in Westport?
Which property?
Basically about the same. I mean, they've got light industrial going on in the Westport area too, and
Yeah, so
They've
not
got
too
a-
far from there. You don't have to go all the way south of I-10 to find industrial. You can go right there off of Commercial Drive and you'll see some light
Yeah.
industrial.
And there's some north as well.
yeah, I know where y'all are. Y'all across Court Street from that, so that's why I'm trying to get a comparison of what we're looking at here, because that road there, they've got apartment complexes, they've got businesses, they've got motels, they've got, they've got just about anything you want to find in there. I believe they just started a 6-acre project for Costco, isn't it, that they started in there?
Cons?
Con, yeah, Con, not
That's the
Costco.
Siraj family, that's zoned light, I
Yeah.
think that's zoned, light industrial. some of the manufacturing, some of the distribution companies that could potentially be interested in the site may have light manufacturing needs, and, we don't want to restrict ourselves in taking on this kind of risk and investment and not, limiting ourselves to having potential tenants there. I know the site next to it is the Pear site that y'all use for various things, and it's the plan is to have these buildings directed and facing south, so that be a very clean look, and there's not going to be any outside storage. So, anything that would be a concern at all, if it's any light manufacturing and stuff, it's going to be done inside. So,
Anybody else have any comments or questions for it? Thank you, sir. Huh?
What kind of light industry you're talking about?
you mean light manufacturing?
Manufacturing.
It could be a number of things. I mean, I don't really know specifically, but it could be, any samples of,
How you doing? I'm Leon Audebert with LA3 Holdings. Some of our clients are, for example, do valves and fittings for some of these petrochemical facilities up and down the river. They need bulk distribution, but they also do some light fabrication within the facility. So would this fall under light industrial for this example, or would it be a commercial zoning? Because, so you would need the light industrial zoning for that. We don't want to limit us to only distribution. And when we say distribution, it's the distribution of finished goods. We're not going to be building widgets or manufacturing anything, but there may be some light fabrication of different products that are going out to these petrochemical facilities. And that can be a range of different products. What we're looking to do with this property is strictly distribution, Class A facilities, concrete tilt wall construction. We're going to configure it to where the rear of the buildings will be near the north property line. We're estimating we could do 3 or 4 buildings, roughly 200,000 to 300,000 square foot each. Currently, we have a tenant that's in need of 300,000 square feet. What they will be storing is a finished product that will be sold at retail. We can't disclose exactly what that product is. We have a confidentiality agreement signed, but it is one of y'all's major employees in the area that is looking for a distribution facility.
Okay.
We will do no outdoor storage. We don't need that. Our biggest concern, like I said before, with the commercial zoning is if we do have a client that has to fabricate, do some small fabrication, would we be limited? So that's, hopefully that provides a little bit of clarification. And as far as zoning, just north of this site, there is a I-1 zoning along 415. I'm not sure how far up, but it is in the middle of one of these cane fields. And also down Court Street, let's see, is that, it's right there.
Well, this is Marshall Construction.
What's that?
Marshall Construction.
That's Morshawn Construction. So that is, for an example, an I-1 zoning in the middle of Green. What we're doing is, the highest and best use for this property is industrial. There's very limited frontage, and you're not gonna be able to do a neighborhood. It's not feasible for this site. You're not gonna be able to do any type of retail development. The highest and best use is industrial. It's located a quarter of a mile from the interstate, which gives it ideal access to go east or west along the interstate. You're close to population centers within East Baton Rouge. So this is an ideal site for distribution. And some of these distribution facilities are gonna cater to these petrochemical companies that have product that needs to get shipped out.
Okay, now, will you be selling this property or leasing it?
We will be leasing it. We'll be developing it and leasing it.
Y'all are developing?
I can't tell you we're gonna own it indefinitely, but the plan is to develop it, lease it out, and then from there, we'll make
Well, this is a large tract of land. That's why we're approaching it with cautious
So
optimism, I guess you call
You,
it. but-
you own the property now?
We have it under contract. We don't.
So you
we
don't?
We don't own it.
You don't
The
own it.
owners are here, but we don't own it first. We wanted to make sure we can get the zoning we need before we make that
Okay.
large investment.
We appreciate y'all's comments. Let us see if anybody in the audience might have
Yes, sir.
anything to say, and
Thank you for your time.
thank y'all. Appreciate it. We might have to call you back up here to answer some questions later on, but we have a letter in our packet from Mr. Hill saying he supporting the project. Would anybody else care to make a comment?
My name is Fanny Easterly. They failed to mention that there is an established neighborhood to the north of their property, and to act like, oh, just dump anything there. That's not fair, because we've been there since the 50s. And for them to just come in and change the whole atmosphere of the area, I just think is fairly presumptuous on their part, and it's not being taken into consideration that there are people who've lived there that long. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Easterly. Mr. Cooper?
Good evening, Evan Cooper. At being an adjoining landowner, I'd just like to say that if they get their industrial rezoning, I may well submit a petition to raise my lot to industrial. Right now, I'm at C 1.2, may want to stay there, may want to go up. But also looking at the magnitude of what they have in mind, how much has been in thought given to the logistics of this, the traffic, the gas, the electric. I mean, 415 right now at certain times of the day is chock or block, and those trucks trying to get out of Cash's truck stop, and actually my truck wash turning left is quite a challenge. I mean, right is not a problem, but then saying we have a couple of options on Court Street and 415, that's man, that's quite a venture they have. And then to say we're gonna develop, what, 10,000 square feet, and then come along later and do some more?
No, initial phase would be 300.
You know, I stood before y'all, several months ago asking for a special use. I don't know if that would fit in what they're doing, but I think there's some options there. I'm right now at this time, neither for or against it, but our senior leaders have put a lot of thought into the parish plan, and I know when I was in the Navy, and I learned firsthand, once a plan meets with the enemy, it falls apart. So it's good. It may bring some trucks for me to wash, may not, but again, you know, that was zoned for a reason, and to go up that high, Baton Rouge Cargo came in here, and I think that's why C 1.4 was created for them.
Yep. Good point.
I don't have a crystal ball, but think clearly and closely on this before you make a decision. That concludes my statements.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else? Being any other questions from the panel? Any other questions from? Okay, being none, this time, I could entertain a motion to close the public hearing for file number 06.
Okay, I think I cleared it, so if you can make a motion on the computer, we're gonna see if it's gonna work.
It's back to where it was.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Mine never
I got
changed.
the IT guy trying to get in,
okay.
so I guess we'll stay manual.
I guess I would like to go ahead and make a motion to go from the agriculture to the C 1.4. It's, so Kevin, we went through this before. Do we have to vote on the I-1? Can we make the motion on C 1.4 and see what it does. We've kind of went back and forth on this, so I'd like you to clarify it.
So, the application before you is for I-1.
Right.
So, hypothetically, if you were to approve that and somebody were to challenge it, they could still challenge if you gave them C1.4, and you would still be facing the same grounds.
Right.
How did you reach your decision to give them that if it ever went to court? Obviously, you couldn't go any higher than I-1. You couldn't say,
Right.
oh, yeah, we'll go ahead and give you I-2 tonight. That would be kind of weird and odd, and courts probably wouldn't like that. You voting on a C1.4 is you going less than what they actually
Correct.
asked for. So I think your motion is in order, and I'm not an attorney, and the parish attorney isn't here.
And it's just a recommendation to the
It's a
council.
recommendation to the council. The parish attorney will be at that meeting.
Right.
So, is there a legal issue involved here? I would say not so much, but I'm not
Okay.
an attorney. But I think your motion would probably be in order, and you need a second for it.
So that's my motion, Mr. John.
What is your motion again?
To go to agriculture, from agriculture to C1.4.
I got one quick question. Kevin, just off the top of your head, what are we eliminating by dropping down?
So a couple of things we talked about. One of the things that's definitely going to go away probably is the hazardous material storage. They probably won't be able to do any of that. I can double check that for sure. But as you go down from I-1 to C1.4, your ability to store hazardous materials goes down. Also, your ability to do fabrication goes away. So you're getting away from that industrial to more of truly a warehousing type scenario where there's no fabrication that goes on inside of those walls. So it's going to strictly be storage with little to no fabrication and little to no hazardous materials.
Okay, now, Kevin, well, let's open up the possibility of them coming to us every 3 or 4 months wanting to change one parcel of the property into a different category?
They could, they could, the zoning laws allow you to split tracts of land into different zoning categories, so that is allowable.
Okay, so they could do that?
They could piecemeal it, yes, sir.
Okay. You made the motion? Is there a second? Second by Ray. Is there any discussion? Now, this is a master plan change, so it's gonna have to be 2/3, right?
It calls for commercial.
So then it's not a master
So if you go to.
That's what I thought. It's not a master plan
For
change.
I-1 it is, not for commercial.
Not for commercial.
Okay.
Thank you, good catch.
Okay. All those in favor?
So can
If you can
we
mark
vote
it.
here, or we have to, yea, nay?
You can give it a shot at.
We still stuck.
I see, yeah, I think y'all are all
We
stuck.
still stuck?
I'm
Yeah,
free,
I
huh?
got no-
Hey,
Mine says vote submitted.
Submitted.
Okay.
Mark me down.
I can't.
I can't do that.
Okay.
So we just go around?
Put me down.
Okay, Carrie Denstall?
Yes.
Yes, and this is for a vote, this vote is for a C1.4.
Correct, yes.
Curtis Ducote is absent. Ray Revet?
Yes.
Sid Blanchard?
Yes.
John Tilton?
Yes.
Russell Valet?
Yes.
Alfreda Jackson?
Yes.
And Joycelyn Green is absent. So it's unanimous to C1.4,
Just see it and I'm not marked on there.
because he can't,
Okay.
he's frozen.
Okay. It passed
For a C1.4.
at C1.4. And now when's that gonna come up? This Thursday or
Next Thursday.
next Thursday? Next Thursday a week.
Not sure what the gentleman wants to speak.
Could you speak into the
Go
mic,
ahead.
please? so we
Go
have
ahead.
you-
Were we given an opportunity to speak again
Well, the chairman closed the public
Yeah.
hearing.
so with this move and it being, at your direction,
This is a recommendation to the council.
Right, so
I
we're
suggest
stuck
you
with
be
this,
there just in case they
Right.
have any
You
questions.
need to go to the council meeting.
we're stuck with this right now, or are we?
Depends on the parish council.
Depends on the council. They'll decide. They'll get the last decision.
Gotcha, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. This time I'm gonna open up the public hearing again for 2019-07. Rezoning from agriculture and C1.3 to I1 light industrial, 3193 Webster Lane, Port Allen. And that's for Gulf and WSM Properties. This will also be a master plan change. Anybody here to represent that?
Hi, how are y'all doing? Michael Cascio, here representing the buyer. So, the buyers intend to zone this light industrial purely speculatively. They hope for distribution, similar to the group that just went before us. They don't have anybody in mind right now. It's purely speculative. And they're still under contract in the due diligence phase. So there's not a lot of physical information we can provide at this time.
And you just intend to put some type of
Similar to,
warehouses in there or something?
yes, sir. Similar to the previous applicants, the intent would be large-scale distribution. Again, I think at this stage, there's nobody in particular in mind. We don't have a user. The buyers just intend, it's really well located for this type of use, so they intend to, hold it until something comes along.
Well, let me ask you, this Webster Lane, is it an improved road, or is it just a gravel road, or?
It's somewhat improved. You can kind of see on the map there, it doesn't go
I'm
very
looking at
far onto the property, but it is somewhat improved. Yes, sir.
Kevin, Pee Wee, didn't the parish do that? Can y'all comment?
It's the parish road, and we did improve it to a commercial grade where we put like 2 years of asphalt on it, and we also brought Coach Street extension all the way onto that property.
So it'll hold the trucks that they plan on putting in there?
Yeah, it's, we, the future economic development, we went ahead and took those roads into our system.
Okay. All right.
And to my knowledge, there are no neighbors, no neighborhoods or anything adjacent to the property.
So this is gonna be, what, about 65 acres altogether?
That's right. Yes, sir. About 65.
Yeah, so you got 6 and then another 59. Well, that's gonna be also, that's more or less right across the street from the other one, so there's gonna be plenty of available space there for commercial or light industrial or whatever. Okay, I'm familiar with the property, and I don't know, anybody have any questions for him?
Mr. Ray and I were looking at each other. I certainly can't have the opinion of this one and having a different one of the one right across the street. So that's my comment at this time. If there's anybody with the public who wants to say anything, I guess they can come up.
Would it make a difference that there are no neighbors, kind of differentiating us from the group that just went?
I guess there's none. I can't really see the map to the north, but I guess there aren't any, you're correct. School board property to the north, yeah.
Yeah, it butts up to the school board property. That used to be the Freddie Dawson property, and in the late 60s, I remember when Warren Munson bought it from him, so.
I thought there was a home back there.
Huh? It was a brick home, yeah. That was Fred Dawson's house, and then Mr. Herb Cason was renting it, and he lived there till he died. Okay. Anybody have any other questions up here? Thank you. So let me get some comments from the audience, if they could, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from the audience on this piece of property?
Good evening. That being just across the street.
And your name?
Evan Cooper. Just, that being across the street from my property as well as issue you just considered, I may come back in again and say, I'd like to upgrade. But logistics, the parish is growing, but has there been any thought, again, to the gas, the electric, the traffic control on that, widening the 415, the I-10 exit? That is some tremendous volume that could take place there, and that may be the thing to do, but just, wow.
Yeah,
That's, and it'd be good for all the businesses there if it's properly managed, I think.
well, like I said,
And
most
there
of your,
are neighbors. I'm one of them.
most of your property along the major highways are either industrial or commercial, you know, so most people wouldn't be wanting to put a house right there and hear all that I-10 traffic going by there all night long.
I don't hear it, but anyway, I mean, this it may be a C 1.4, let them come back if they need to at a later time and go up, or C 1.3. I'm doing business as C 1.3. So,
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hi, Chad
I
Orty.
believe we got your name already, don't we?
No, I didn't put it first time, but I was
Oh.
gonna write it down. But just want to say, you know, we are going for the same type of zoning, and, you know, we may or may not be competing for the same, you know, opportunity. I will point out that, you know, our properties feel like it's kind of a natural flow right in for trucks and distribution to come off the highway, whereas this one is, you got to make a left-hand turn, and certainly, I appreciate the traffic, you know, obviously, we have to go through more to get site plan approval for any kind of project, but, you know, us being with a natural right-in and kind of, as we know, obviously how Caches works and as a truck flow works, and it's just, it's a natural, a better traffic flow for the trucks to consider. So just want to make that point, and again, we're going for the same zoning as them, so, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Anybody else? At this time, go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion to approve this. Like I said, this is a master plan change. Sid, Carrie, that's y'all's area.
I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion, Ms. Sid, that we give this gentleman the, same agriculture to 1.4 commercial.
Second.
Okay.
This is actually 2 lots owned
Yeah,
by the same people. One of them,
Yeah.
one of them's
Yeah,
off Fort
Six
One of
acres
so I
them is
want to make sure
actually, you're
y'all.
right.
6
We're looking
acres
at both
and
of them.
59 acres, yeah. But you got the same motion for both parcels?
Yes, sir.
This
Same
is-
motion.
It's the same zoning, just make sure y'all realize that.
So actually, let me restate that. That's agriculture and C 1.3 to C 1.4.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. You're right.
It's been motioned and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Being none, Leonard, go ahead and vote.
Ms. Joycelyn Green is absent. Alfreda Jackson,
Yes.
Russell Valet,
Yes.
John Tilton,
Yeah?
Sid Blanchard, Ray Reed,
Yes.
Curtis Ducote is absent, Carrie Dinstel,
Yes.
Joy Hobbins absent. So it's unanimous. Recommend to the council
Council.
for a C 1.4.
Okay. Now, this also come up Thursday a week. Okay. Ms. Jackson,
Yes, I move that we,
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay,
All those in favor?
all those. Aye. Okay. This time, I'm gonna call a meeting of the Planning Commission to order. I believe y'all all have a copy of the minutes of the May 7th meeting. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Thank you.
Motion by Ray, second by
Russell.
Russell, I got a first from Russell. Can I have a second?
Russell.
You second? Thank you, Mr.
Second
Sid.
by Sidney.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, the ayes have it. Correspondence,
Have none, sir.
there's none. Public hearing, there's none. Other business,
There
Ms.
is.
Jackson,
Move that this meeting is adjourned.
Ms. Second,
Second.
by Ray.
I think Mr. Pee Wee has something to say.
All those in favor signify by, okay, you want,
Yeah, I didn't hear you say public comment. I just want to let y'all know, that area is growing at 415, and we were successful in getting some money to build a 415 connector. And actually, what the state is going to do, they're also going to include in the job, I don't know if it could go in at the same time, but they're going to build what they call a divided diamond, which is going to be, they're going to raise the actual overpass that's on the 415 interchange. And they can have two other little flyovers to divert that traffic, because when you start coming off of the intercoastal bridge, you're gonna add more traffic to already busy intersection, which a couple of you pointed out. And so, we're making progress on that. I think, Kevin and I, a lot of Kevin, he's on kind of work committee, and I'm on the kind of like handle the politics part of it at the Capitol, but, they've done quite a bit of work, and I think it's something that we're gonna meet again with the state next week, or is this week? This week, and try to, expedite the process, because they have to do some more environmentals and some other things before we can actually go to construction, So construction is probably, I would say, probably 2 years away, and then, probably it's gonna take 3 years to build this project once we get it, everything funded and all that in order. I also serve on the Capital Area Road and Bridge District. We talk about a new bridge. Kevin is also on that work committee on that project, and we met again yesterday at the state capitol on that, and the state has given us $5 million to start the feasibility studies and trying to nail down the location for a bridge and do some environmental things. So hopefully, and I can't say exactly when and what's going to happen, but we are working on some of the transportation issues we have in West Baton Rouge and the capital region. So we're going to continue to do that, but it just will bring up to date. So it'll make these decisions a little easier once we be able to flow that traffic on that interchange, particularly at 415.
Where are they gonna tie in to LA one? Where are they looking to tie in?
It's a little north of American Way, where Speedway Sportsman's on American Way, and it'd be a little bit north of that. We'll fly over LA1, and then it'll kind of meander, and we have to fly over the railroad tracks again on North Line Road. By the time we probably get this project built, there's also going to be a rail yard that the port is putting in, and so once we get up to cross the railroad track at North Line Road, we'll probably stay elevated all the way to the bridge and have a little slightly steeper ramp on the north side of the Intercoastal Bridge.
So with
that
that,
sounds great. We can see a little light at the end of the tunnel there for
Yep.
the 415 connector now. When you talk about that bridge, if they take the money they spent on studies, the last 12 or 15 studies they made, they'd had half the bridge built. But they keep wasting money on studies when they could be putting that money into a bridge, so maybe one day we'll see a little headway made with a bridge, so.
Absolutely.
But y'all are doing a great job out there, Pee Wee.
thank y'all for what y'all do.
We have in almost every meeting we go to, the echoes of what you just said about the studies and the study, and we studied to do another study. And I think they probably hearing it, because we had, in our meeting yesterday, we had spent $7 million on when we did the loop study, which was about 6-8 years ago. And they didn't want to use any information. And so now we actually going to bring that information back and put it in this thing so they could take the pieces that's still good, still viable today, and use those things to go forward with this other $5 million we got from the state to do the due diligence required by the federal government to get more money for these projects. Yeah, it's part of a task that's got to be done. You got to check them boxes, and you did environmental and all the work. So.
Well, I know we sent letters to all our
Yep.
Washington delegation, and, we've got some letters back saying that it depended on the Greater Baton Rouge Area Transportation Committee on what comes up. It's not one parish, it's a multi-parish operation to get something like this done. And that's what we're taking. When our vice president couldn't even take the interstate to go back to the airport, we knew we had problems. So, like I said, but thank you though, people, we appreciate it. Like I said, we'll look forward to that Cloverleaf. Okay, that's it.
We adjourn.
Well, thank y'all, everybody for coming.